Hi, this is Lorraine, and I've been guided to do another video. If you'll give me a second to clear, center, and balance my energy, we'll get started. So I want to start with something that's really important in how I do things. When I first had my spiritual awakening, or this massive opening, because I've always been a very spiritual person my whole life, I started writing in my journals, and I would write all my visions and all my dreams. And each vision, each dream, each message was information or a message or guidance for me in isolation. But when I started reviewing my journal a year later, and I go through the whole thing, reading and looking at the visions I drew, I realized each one of those messages in isolation came together and created a greater message. And that was true in every journal. Every time I looked through the messages I received, I would realize there was a greater culminating message. And so this is, I'm not sure, my 8th or 9th journal, but it's still true to this day. And when I started creating videos, what I realized is the same thing was happening, but a little different. Because when I started reviewing the videos, or even just thinking about the things I had discussed, I realized that there was a massive shift happening as I was creating the videos. So if you watch the first video all the way up to my last video, you'll see that things have changed. My perception has changed, information has changed, and it's not that the information I was conveying in 2020 is wrong. It's that the information comes in as I can receive it. So where I was at that time is what my consciousness could handle, receive, interpret, and utilize for my highest good. And as I grow and as I open up, my perspective changes because I'm becoming more open and aware. And so the information comes in at providing a different perspective, a broader perspective. And so, as I said in that introductory video, all the videos I've created up to this point authentically and truthfully shows my progression, shows my awakening, shows how my perception has changed and how I perceive not only myself, but the messages I receive. So this is an authentic demonstration of my personal awakening. And so that's important, because what this video represents is a bit of a culmination of information that's come to me over the years. So I did 2 short videos, and those videos summarize this idea of time and all time happening simultaneously. The first video that I did, which was 2 weeks ago, was about how time collapses in every now moment. So as the torsion turns, one turn of that torsion represents a moment in time, a snapshot in time. And every time that torsion turns one time, there is a moment of creation, sustenance, and destruction. So every now moment comes into creation and destroys itself as it moves into the next now moment. Okay? With every birth, sustenance, and destruction, there is an opportunity to create something new and different. So every now moment is a moment of creation and destruction. So everything we regret, or we feel sad about, or are upset about, is destroyed in that now moment. And in the next now moment, something new is created. Something new and beautiful. So every moment, every second, every perception is an opportunity to create something new, is an opportunity to heal. And this is very important because this is something new in how we perceive our existence. So every now moment is a moment in time where we can release everything that we regret or feel sad about or are angry about. We can release it and bring something new into our life that is more aligned with what we hope for, what we wish for, what we would like to see in our lives in every moment. Okay? The next video was about past, present, and future occurring simultaneously, which I have discussed before. All time is happening in every now moment. It presents itself in every now moment. And in the past I've said, or I've tried to describe this by explaining it through photographs. And this is how it was explained to me or shown to me. If you think of your existence as, think of a plane. Think of a plane. A plane is any 3 points that connect. It doesn't have to be just 3 points. It could be 4 points. It could be 100 points. But it's just 3 points on this two-dimensional plane. It's a flat plane. And those points go on forever. That plane goes on forever. Sorry. And what was described to me is if my birth, there is a photograph dropped into the universe to demonstrate my birth. And every now moment from my birth, there is a photograph taken. My birth would be over there. There would be photographs of every now moment up to this point here, right now. So I would have 57 years of photographs going back to my present, to my birth. From this point, this now moment, there is a photograph for every possible reality that I might create in my future. From this moment to my death. So all those realities, the reality that's been created to this point, and every possible reality that may occur in the future is already laid out on that plane of existence. Okay? That's very important to understand. I'm a very visual person, so they showed it to me that way visually. Every now moment from this point here in my life to my birth is presented in photographs in a line going from there to here. Every now moment that could possibly exist from this point here going out to my future, to my death, is present from this place to that space over there. If I wanted to get to my birth, I would have to travel from this place right here all the way back to that first photograph. In order for me to travel to that first photograph, I would not only have to cross space, but I would have to cross time. So that distance from this now moment to that photograph of my birth is represented by space and time, right? Or demonstrates space and time. Same thing from this point to the future. Those photographs from here to there, if I wanted to go to my death, I would have to cross the space between this moment and my death. I would also be crossing time. We could extend that to past lives and future lifetimes. If we have those points in time, give me just a second, let me see if I can get a piece of paper. So this is a little rudimentary, I just kind of thought I like visuals, so I just wanted to create this really quick. From this now moment right here, I can travel back in time to my birth. From this now moment, I can travel back in time, forward in time to my death. From that same point of view, if all time is happening simultaneously, I can travel from this now moment not only to my birth, but through time to past lives. The same thing is true for the future. I can travel from this now moment to my death, but I can also travel to my future lifetimes, okay? And this is very rudimentary, but it's very important to understand if all time is happening simultaneously, that means not only is my present occurring, all my experiences in my existence are occurring simultaneously. And this is very important for the next thing I'm going to talk about. And for some other things that I'm going to talk about. So as we open up to this idea of all time happening simultaneously, that means there is really no past or future. All things are happening simultaneously in this now moment. All experiences are happening simultaneously in this now moment. So as I work diligently to raise my vibration, to release any type of negative energy or attachments, open myself up, forgive myself for things that I've done wrong or that could be perceived as being wrong, open my heart, become loving, accepting, tolerant of all things around me, including myself. And as I do that, I raise my vibration. At least that's been my experience, and that's what my guidance tells me. As I work diligently to commit myself to my path and purpose, as I work diligently to fortify my connection to the divine consciousness and walk that path and purpose and work towards every action being for the higher good, not just for myself, but for all things. And as I work diligently to this end and raise my vibration, I'm not only raising my vibration in this now moment, I'm raising my vibration across time and space, not just here in this lifetime, but across all lifetimes, across all my experiences in this universe, in this existence. This is very important to understand as we move forward in this world, in this life, and through transcendence, okay? This is a very important thing to understand, concept, principle, law. That's what's coming in right now. This is universal law, how this can be perceived as universal law. There's two other things I need to talk about and that bring this all together. One of the things that we need to understand is what I hear a lot about presently with all the solar flares and the astrology that's happening right now, which is very powerful, is that we are raising our vibration. All this stuff is happening and to raise our vibration. And this is where language becomes very challenging, and which is something I'm also going to discuss. We're not raising our vibration right now. The astrology isn't raising our vibration. The solar flares are not raising our vibration. Mother Earth provides, Father Sun protects. What's happening right now, the energy that's shifting and changing our world, is breaking down all the barriers that have been built up to prevent to attempt to prevent our transcendence, to keep our consciousness imprisoned and keep us at this place of duality, steeped in duality, steeped in fear. The solar flares, Father Sun, his actions are to break down the walls, the barriers that are preventing us from evolving. And those barriers are not just around humanity, but Mother Earth. He's breaking down the barriers to set Mother Earth free so that she can once again nurture us in the most healthy way possible, heal us. Help us to heal. Okay, so what Father Sun and Mother Earth are doing together in conjunction are healing humanity. This is about healing humanity. And all the planets are in cahoots. All the planets, the solar system, all these consciousnesses, because these worlds are conscious just like we are. They are all working together to help break the boundaries that have been put up to prevent us from growing and evolving. They are helping us to heal. This is a healing process. They are not, technically, they are not raising our vibration. Okay? What I've heard in different esoteric communities is there is this hierarchy that's in place, and there are many humans that believe beings on other worlds are more evolved than we are. They put them on a pedestal above humanity. They are not above us. We are profound and powerful beings in this universe, and they are not above us as far as consciousness or ability. But there are many who speak who would have you believe that. That is untrue. Each being in this universe has a very profound purpose. The mantis beings have come through before, very much about science and DNA, working with DNA. The Alpha Draco and the reptilian beings are very much about social structure. They're very good at social structure. Cities, families, all those things, how society is built and integrated is very much their gift. Humanity is about the emotional body. We are about emotions. We are about intuition. That is our gift to the universe. No, none of these beings are above us. None of them are more evolved, especially at this level of consciousness. We are all at this level of consciousness. Anybody that you may experience, or let me rephrase that, any beings that have come to this world who have led us to believe that they are higher in ability than we are, or consciousness than they are, they have crossed space and time to come here from a different place, from a different level of existence, from a different level of consciousness, but they are no way above us. I hope that makes sense, because this can become very convoluted, and that's why the information comes in the way it does. For us, we can only process and integrate so much information at any given time. If it all comes in at once, it's overwhelming, and we can't work through it. We don't have the awareness to work through it, and that's why it comes in pieces. And then we can bring it all together in moments like this. But I hope that makes sense. These energies are not above us. They are not more evolved than us. And this is where I want to segue into telepathic communication. Speech, language is very confining. It's very narrow in scope. We can only communicate words based on how they are defined, right? So every vocabulary word I use, is the meaning is narrowed in scope based on the definition of each word, right? So I can only convey information based on the meaning of every word I am using as I speak to you. That in and of itself narrows the scope of communication. I can only use so many words, I can only use so many meanings as I convey information. Telepathic communication is the most effective tool of communication that we have, because information isn't coming through in words. It's coming through in multiple ways. All the clairs, at first, when you start opening up, or we start opening up to telepathic communication, it will first come through emotion. It will first come through empathy, by feeling each other's feelings. Empathy is shown when we see someone crying, right? And we put our arms around them and we feel their sadness, because we can see the sadness on their face and we can hear it when they cry. But there is another level of communication that's happening that we're unaware of. And that comes through our intuition. And our intuition tells us, and our emotional body is telling us, that that person needs to be comforted, right? So empathy is the first way that we start receiving that information on another level. So we see it, we hear it, and we feel it. Okay? We will also start to get information through clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairsentience. So we can have visions, we can feel information. Clairsentience is the feeling that comes in the way of a knowing. Clairvoyance through visions, clairaudience through hearing, clairaurience, I think it's called, and clairgusta through smell and taste, clairtangence through touching. There's many ways that we receive information without communication. And those are the most efficient ways to receive communication, because words can be stifling, they can be narrow in scope because of the meanings associated with each word. They can be misleading because people can be triggered by words. Even though our intention wasn't to trigger or upset someone, words can still be triggering. And so if we're communicating honestly and sincerely through our emotional body, through our feelings, emotions, thoughts, if we can share that authentically, we are communicating on many levels. right? We are communicating in many forms, not just through words. We're communicating through thought, through emotion, through our body as we move, through our eyes as we make eye contact, through our smile. There are many ways to communicate without words, and this is our most effective tool. It's the most sincere and clear way to communicate. And once we start really becoming fluent with telepathic communication and using the clairs to communicate, the next step is we won't even use the clairs. There is just such clear communication when we are, excuse me, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm a little bit all over the place, but this is very important. We will go through phases of communication. Our first phase was verbal. Our next phase will be telepathic. But after that, once we have mastered and solidified that communication from the self through the higher self into the divine consciousness, we are communicating at our most efficient. We don't need the clairs to communicate because those communications come through the consciousness of the divine. It's instantaneous, and there's no need for interpretation because there's absolute clarity with that information. When we maintain clear, centered, and balanced energy, and we've released all negativity because we truthfully love unconditionally and we accept everyone in the world around us unconditionally, and we live from that centered place, and we have solidified that in our emotional body, and we've solidified that through our communication with the divine, or our connection with the divine, we are communicating from the most clear and authentic place. And the clairs will become irrelevant. Okay, they are like, the clairs will be like vocabulary words are for us now in communicating. They'll be blockages to our clear communication through the divine consciousness. And I've said it in the past, every particle of energy carries the whole of the universe, carries all information of the universe. It is what the esoteric community would call the Akashic records. All information is contained in every particle of energy. That's why I can read the energy here in this room or across the universe, because across the universe isn't truthfully across the universe, it's right here in this one particle of energy. And that one particle of energy carries the divine consciousness, or all information that the divine consciousness intended to exist in this existence, in this iteration of itself. And once we solidify our connection to the divine, we have not only all information in this universe, but we also start to understand the intention of the divine consciousness in this creation, in its existence. But this is part of our path and purpose. This is part of our journey, moving back to that divine consciousness, to that wholeness, oneness, and that understanding of our true divine self. Okay. Hold on. Okay. So I wanted to briefly go back to where I was talking about how the astrology and the solar flares are all about the healing of humanity and the healing of Mother Earth, right? It's very important to understand that, because as we heal, that is what helps us release the negativity that is blocking us from evolving, from growing energetically. And that's important because when I was talking about how when we raise our vibration, we will raise our vibration across space and time, right? when I was this last week, when that information was, I was reviewing that information, it was coming in intuitively, and I was sitting with that, I had more information come in. So we're not, how do I say this? Our vibration isn't rising. We are healing and we are opening up. And as we open up from a clear, centered, and balanced place, we have greater access to that, our higher self and the divine consciousness. And as we grow and open up, we start to understand, or what I've been told, what I've been guided to know and understand and to share, is that as I open up and I start to understand and access that divine consciousness, I understand that I, through my consciousness, can move to any place, space, or time in any now moment. And because of all the blockages that have prevented us from growing spiritually, energetically, and connecting with our higher self and the divine consciousness, because of all these blockages, we have not been able to open up to many truths, right? But as spiritual truths, but as we heal and as these walls are taken down, we start to understand these ideas and these concepts of our true self, of our true divine self. So what I know to be true in every part of me, because I've asked this question so many times, I had a deluge of past lifetimes come to me in a way that that was overwhelming. And I'm like, what is happening? And it was to help me grow and understand where I've been and what I've been through, and understand wisdom, innate wisdom. Wisdom isn't just from this lifetime, it's from many lifetimes, right? And then I had to ask the question, well, why am I only conscious if all time is happening simultaneously? If every now moment is a moment of creation, sustenance, and then death, if every now moment circulates like that, how come I am only aware of this now moment? How come I'm only aware of Lorene and Lorene's life and what has happened so far in the past? So I can sit and access that information about past and future lifetimes and other worlds I've lived on in any given moment. And if all time is happening right now, how come I am not sitting in the living room of the Caesar that I was in 1200 AD? Why am I not sitting on the world that I was on, I don't know, in whatever future past lifetime? Even though I can channel that, or I can feel it, I know it, I see it, it's shared with me. How come I can't be there if all time is happening simultaneously in this now moment? And so the information that came to me was, as we open up, and I'm sorry, I know I went a little off, but I needed to come back to this. As we open up and heal, we become aware that we can shift our consciousness, our thought, and move ourselves into that life of that Caesar in 1200 AD, that life on Arcturus, that life I think it was like 5000 BC, where I was a shaman. I grew and was trained to become a shaman. I can, at some point in time, I will be able to consciously shift my thought and move me into that now moment. And I will exist in that now moment, just like I am right here in front of you in this camera. Just like I am right here in front of you, recording this video, right? It's just a matter of understanding who we are and where we come from. Understanding our true divine self and what that is and what that provides us. Right now we are stuck in this paradigm, this belief system that we've been born into. And it's created all kinds of barriers preventing us from knowing our true divine self that gives us the access to moving through space and time. But we're not really moving through space and time because everything is happening right here in this now moment. The understanding or the gift or the perception, the shift in perception is what shifts us to those other existences, those other lifetimes, past, future, however you want to see it. It's how we shift our consciousness and our awareness of our existence that moves us into those other lifetimes. Okay? I'm not, I hope that's clear. It's, so I think the most important thing to come out of this is helping you understand that we are very powerful beings in the universe. We have a very clear path and purpose on this world, in this universe. But up to this point, there has been massive attempts by individuals, organizations, spiritual, physical, many levels, to prevent us from understanding our true divine selves, from blocking us from growing and evolving. And that mostly is due to people, these individuals, being stuck in this 3D mindset, this world of duality, of left and right, of control, of power, this love of control and power. They want to maintain that. And so in order for them to have control over someone or something, they have to keep us at this lower or unaware, this state of being unaware of our true divine selves. Okay? And so right now, again, I'll say it again, what's happening with the sun, what's happening with the astrology is about breaking down those walls, those barriers that have been put up to prevent us from growing and evolving. And breaking down those barriers is what is allowing us to heal. And as we heal, Mother Earth, as Mother Earth heals and as we heal, we'll start seeing the changes. Because we're not rising, we're not raising our vibration. We're moving away from hierarchy. We're moving away from these old paradigms of top, bottom, left, right. We're moving away from that. We're completely shifting our perception of our reality and our existence. Okay? And I'm going to take this really quick. I'm just going to show this to you. This is something I demonstrated before. When we think about hierarchies, we think about top and bottom, right? And if we're looking at this sphere, this is the top, this is the bottom. We have left, right, we have front, back, right? But if we shift it just a little, where's the top? Is this now the top? Is this now the bottom? Or this spot right here? Is this the top? Right? This idea of top, bottom, left, right is a construct. It doesn't truly exist. It's perception. We perceive this as the top because it's sitting on top right now. But if we turn it, that top is now the side. Right? So we are shifting out of this idea of top and bottom, more and less. Also, I drew this right here. I'm just going to show you this really quick. This is a vision that I had, and it helped me to understand this hierarchy of elemental spiritual beings, right? we have gods, we have goddesses, and they're supposed to be up here, and then we have all these paladins or elementals or guides and angels. And I'm like, well, we have all these people working for us, and we even have a hierarchy of those. So God is above angels, right? What does that mean? So I had this vision of this sphere, and it had all these beautiful paint colors in it, right? And that's why I colored all of these spaces in here. Each of these spaces has like water, fire, angel, jinn, guide, demon, Scythia. I have all these words of these spiritual beings that we know or understand to be spiritual beings. And I'm like, well, if there's no hierarchy, how can there be a hierarchy in the spiritual world? Gods are supposed to be at the top, and elementals are below them, and where are angels? Are angels at the top, or are they in the middle? And I'm not understanding this. And what was shown to me was each title, each label, God, goddess, guide, angel, demon, sylph, water, fire, were represented by a different color. And then those colors would get bigger and smaller as needed. So if we needed more help from, let's say, an undine, like a water spirit, then that water spirit's color would get really big, and then the other colors would get really small. Or if we need help from a angel, then that would get really bright, and then the other colors would get smaller. And if a god, this energy of a god needed to come in, then the god would get bigger, and all the other would get smaller. But each color was pulsing and becoming bigger and smaller as needed. But none of them were on top or the bottom. It was just as these energies were being called to move forward or to come forward to help existence in some way, they would fulfill that obligation as needed for the greater good. But there was no one that was higher or lower or more important than the other. And that was what was the message that was very important to understand. We are moving out of this idea of hierarchy. We are moving out of this idea of better or worse, more important, less important, more needed, less needed. We're moving towards an integration of all things having value and all things needing to care for one another. We need each other. We don't need any one person more than another. We need everybody equally. We need balance on this world. We need all the energy on this world. The water, the insects, the earth, the air, fire, everything that exists on this world, we need it, and it needs us. Because we are truly interconnected. And we exist best when we are supporting one another and we are living in balance. And that's what we're moving towards in this transcendence, in this change that we're going through. It's powerful, and we're powerful. And we will be okay. I know it feels hard sometimes, but we will be okay. So give me a second. I think that's it. Thank you.